style and grace. Jimmy the Ginty is very proud of his work on the railway and can think of no other job he'd rather do than shunt coaches. But when given the chance to do other work, he takes his duties seriously and gives 100% in all that he does. One day in the yards, Jimmy had shunted extra coaches onto an express train and watched as they slowly headed towards the station. Den, with nothing better to do, had witnessed Jimmy shunting and was green with envy. "Why do you get to shunt coaches and I have to put up work in here?" grunted Den. "Perhaps steam engines that shunt coaches have something diesels don't," teased Jimmy. "And what would that be?" "Style and grace," chortled Jimmy. Den didn't seem to find the funny side of the remark, even if his driver and the shunter did. "We'll see you'll be laughing when you end up getting scrapped," retorted Den. "Oh dear," puffed Jimmy cheekily. "I thought you could do better than that." The yard manager interrupted them. "Stop quarrelling, you two," he exclaimed. "Now I've got an urgent call from the station. A horse is going to be making its way here. When it arrives, I need an engine to take it to Euston, where it'll be unloaded." "Why is it being unloaded at the station?" asked Jimmy curiously. "I've never known that to happen before." "It was meant to be unloaded at a station en route, and a lorry take it into the city, but it's broken down, so another vehicle will meet the horse at Euston. When it's dropped off here, we need to get it straight to the station," the yard manager explained. "This horse is very important, so take extra care." He quickly walked away to his office. "I'll show you who's got style and grace when I deliver that horse," snapped Den, and he rumbled away. "The horse will be in safe hands if you take it," said Jimmy's driver. "That horse is important. I've heard the Household Cavalry have bought that horse." Jimmy was impressed. "That Den is clumsy when it comes to shunting," said the shunter. "I just hope he's not rough with the horse box when he's pulling it." "Come on," puffed Jimmy. "Let's finish all our jobs quickly so we can take it." It sounded like a good idea, and indeed it worked. Jimmy stood waiting for the horse box. But it was late, and empty mineral wagons arrived before it. Den was busy shunting somewhere else. "We can't just leave them here," announced Jimmy's driver. "We'll have to make way for the horse box." Jimmy reluctantly shunted the wagons. He wanted to rush, but he knew he couldn't. Den had just finished his shunting when the horse box arrived. He tooted with joy. "Looks like I'll be delivering it," he called. "Oh, bother," grumbled Jimmy. "He's sure to be rough with the horse now." The yard manager and the shunter walked up to the van. "That horse has been in transit for quite some time. Perhaps we should let it out and let it stretch its legs," suggested the yard manager. Everyone agreed. The horse was well behaved, as it was carefully let out. A workman paced up and down the yard with it as Den ran round to couple up. "I'll show Jimmy I've got style and grace," he huffed. As the workman was bringing the horse back to the van, Den was backing up. But he wasn't paying attention. He was too busy thinking of what he'd say to Jimmy when he came back. The shunter and his driver shouted for him to stop, but he didn't. He hit the horse box with a loud bang. It was enough to spook the horse. He pulled at his reins. The workman couldn't hold him. He bolted away and charged down the yard. "You stupid engine," shouted the shunter. "I knew you'd be rough with the van." Den was taken aback by what had happened. It had all happened at once. "Stop that horse!" cried the yard manager. "It's heading for the main line." As the men raced after it, Jimmy heard their calls. He was still coupled up to the mineral wagons. "If we push the wagons forward, we'll close the gap and it won't be able to get through," said Jimmy. "Well, let's get on with it," encouraged the fireman. Jimmy pushed the wagons forward, blocking the horse's way. With much hissing and blowing of steam, the horse stopped dead in its tracks. Frightened by the noise, it turned and galloped the other way. The men quickly grabbed the reins and calmed the horse down. Everyone was relieved as the horse safely boarded the van. Den was ordered off the train and stayed to shunt the yards as Jimmy triumphantly pulled the horse away to the station. It had only been a few hours, but word had gotten round about the event that had happened in the yards. Jimmy didn't return back, but Fred soon arrived to collect the empty mineral wagons. Den sat in a siding, frustrated and embarrassed. Fred smiled and offered some wise words. "Jimmy knows more about shunting than you will ever know. I know you're not keen on those steam engines, but perhaps you should listen to Jimmy and take note on what he does," he advised. Den said nothing. He just sulked. But Fred still couldn't help but giggle. "But like they say, You should never work with children or animals. Fred chuckled as he steamed away. Dent still said nothing. He knew that this was one incident that no one would ever forget in a hurry.